Mikel Merino, Arsenal's number 9. Arsenal have won 2-0 at Leicester, and it's owed to a fantastic cameo from the substitutes bench from Mikel Merino. And frankly, I've got to take my hat off to the manager, to the coaching staff who spotted that possibility, and Merino who took the chance, well, both his chances, with aplomb. And obviously, different games will require different approaches, different match scenarios, different game states. But for me, right now, I'm prepared to declare in our next game, Mikel Merino is our starting centre forward. And I think there's a very decent chance that he'll hold that position until the end of the season. It's funny, when he was signed as a midfield player, it was partly to allow Kai Havertz to play up front, and I looked at Merino and Havertz and saw a lot of similar attributes. You know, the physicality, the penalty box presence. Merino, I think I said at the time, was kind of the midfielder Arteta hoped Kai Havertz would be. Kai Havertz moved up front, now we're without him. And who's the player with the closest attributes? Who's the most analogous player in the squad? It is Mikel Merino. And how strange that, having spent last season with the first half of the campaign, Havertz in midfield, moving him up front the second half, could we be about to see something similar with Mikel Merino? I don't know, but this was a fantastic day for him, a really good result for Arsenal. And I think when I look at the contrast between the way we started this game, the first half performance, and the way in which we finished it, it's clear. It's clear that this team are more accustomed to playing with that physical presence through the middle of the pitch. Trossard even looked better on the left than he did through the middle. So yeah, big day for Merino, and a big day for the club, who are looking for someone to step up, to fill the breach, to solve this mess that they find themselves in. And Mikel Merino has done that today. Great goals. I've got to give a shout out to Ethan Nwaneri, who created the first with beautiful little clipped cross into the far post. Merino, that powerful header, reminiscent in some ways of the header he came off the bench to score for Spain during the Euros. That was one of the moments that persuaded Arteta this is a guy who can really help us, who has that penalty box intuition about him. And the second goal I loved. Great counter-attack. Calafiori driving through. Trossard. The thing is, I know Trossard was poor as the kind of false nine today, but he'd found a bit of a vein of form on the left. Doing this kind of thing. Going on the outside, putting in a perfect cross, which he did. Merino arrives, and it's such a neat, controlled finish. I mean, you know, I'm not sure I've seen Kai Havertz look that composed in front of goal. So, yeah, special stuff for Merino. And Nwaneri was brilliant as well. For Merino to come off the bench and score twice, and yet the TV coverage to give the man of the match to Nwaneri tells you how good he was. Should have left the game with a goal, really. So unlucky. 2 efforts that came off the woodwork. The first one, with the curled effort towards the far top corner that clips the bar, would have been absolutely beautiful. Second one might take a nick on the way through, I'm not sure, but still hit with real conviction off his right foot. He gets his assist, which is frankly the least he deserved. In what had been a pretty poor Arsenal performance, he was consistently a threat. Always looked the man most likely. As soon as you gave him a target in the penalty area, Merino, Nwaneri made it happen. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to what Mikel Arteta did. I mean, he picked pretty much the team you would envisage. The front three was as expected. And it didn't really work, I've got to say. I mean, Raheem Sterling looks incredibly out of sorts. I know Trossard was bad, but he kind of redeemed himself with that assist late on. Sterling just looks miles off, and it is quite sad, actually, to see a player who has been a top Premier League player struggling quite as much as this. It was funny, Joe Cole was on commentary here in the UK, and he kept talking Sterling up as, you know, what a quality player he is. And I felt like saying, you're using the wrong tense, Joe. You're using the wrong tense. He was these things, but he has not been those things for quite some time. I won't write him off entirely, because earlier this season I saw something extraordinary happen. with Gabriel Jesus, a player who I thought was this, in a similar place to where Sterling is now, nothing coming off, nothing happening, looked a million miles from his best, bereft of confidence, and suddenly he burst into life. And that caught me by surprise. That really caught me by surprise and made me think, never write a guy off, especially when they're still, 29, 30. They've got a way to go before the end. But with Sterling, I can understand why others might reach that conclusion. And again, based on Merino's impact, you wouldn't be picking him for the next game. You would not be picking him. Another thing about that front three is they're all quite small. And I thought it was noticeable that Arsenal's threat on set pieces was significantly reduced. I mean, Havertz is not just our front man, he's a real threat in those situations. So I think we felt that too. The change was the right one. I think Sam Dean might have been, of the Telegraph, the first person I saw to push the Merino as a centre-forward idea, or float the idea. He got absolutely torn apart on social media for it. I think at the time fans were just sort of still too angry about the window to contemplate, having to be a bit creative with the options at our disposal. But credit to Sam and credit to others who put it forward. It worked. It absolutely worked. Can Merino do the other aspects of what Havertz offers? The pressing, the hold-up play? I'm not so sure. Does that matter? I don't know. I still think it was a lot better than what we had for the first 70 minutes. And maybe there'll be opponents against which it's not the right decision. And, when Martinelli and Saka are back, maybe Trossard is the right man to play. He's played in combination with those two. I think the key here is playing with Merino kind of allowed the team to do what it normally does. Instead of having to find a new way to play, evolve a new manner of scoring goals, Merino allows us to lean into our already existing strengths. I mean, that little cross from Nwaneri to the far post, that is Saka to Havertz, right? And this team is constructed to produce those kinds of chances. The curled ball to the back post, we've said it time after time after time. Let's have a player on the pitch who enables us to retain that threat, to retain the threat we have at set pieces as well. To add Merino to Gabriel and Saliba as the big targets on the set pieces, I think improves our threat level. So, yeah, I think this was a great win, one we needed. I mean, the obituaries were being written for our season, frankly, weren't they? At 0-0. And it just felt like, we're suffering here. We're suffering without the striker. And Merino gives us that bit of hope. And I also think, maybe this is so simplistic, but you've played football. I'm sure many of you have played football in some way, shape or form. The manager says, let's say you're a midfielder or a defender, whatever you might be. Do you fancy going playing up a centre forward for half an hour? Surely you're thrilled. I know they're professionals and they're like, well, I'm a midfielder by trade and I understand the midfield position, but they all strikers once. They all want to be goal scorers. They all want to be the hero. And Merino had that chance today. And he revelled in it. He relished it. And he seized it. And actually, I've had my reservations about that signing. I still do. I think in terms of the costs, the resale value, the profile, the type of midfielder he is, it's probably not what I would have done. But I've never questioned that he is a threat around the penalty box. And we've seen it in big games. We saw it against Liverpool, for example. And he's doubled his goal tally for Arsenal today. And he looked very composed and very natural doing it. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what that might look like from the start. I think it's West Ham, is it, that we've got next week? Especially, they're a physical side. They're a threat on set pieces. I would absolutely do that. I would absolutely bring in the height and the power of Merino. Yeah. and I think it would have to be Sterling dropping out, and then at least he's kind of a experienced wild card from the bench. Although frankly, at the moment, it feels like you know exactly what you are going to get from him, and that's a real shame. I'm delighted that's not the thing we're talking about, and we can focus on the brilliance of Nwaneri and the emergence of Mikel Merino, Arsenal number 9. I'll leave it there for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos, and I'll chat to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.